विद्विषावहै। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Oh, may Brahman protect us. May it nourish us. May we work in harmony with great vigor. May our study be illuminating. May we not cherish ill feeling towards each other. Oh, peace, peace, peace.
A prayer to Almighty by Rabindranath Tagore. O humble me beneath the dust of your feet. O drown all my arrogance in my tears. In giving glory to myself, I only insult myself. In being immersed in me, I only go around in circle. Let me not project myself in my work. Let your will be done in my life. I ask for your eternal peace. In my heart, your everlasting presence. Surround and shelter me in your lotus heart. Oh, humble me beneath the dust of your feet. আমার মাথা নত করে দাও হে তোমার চরণ ধুলার তলে সকল কার হে আমার ডুবাও চোখের জলে আমার মাথা নত করে দাও হে তোমার চরণ ধুলার তলে নিজে যে করিতে গৌরবদান নিজের কেবলি করিয়া অপমান নিজের করিতে গৌরবদান নিজের কেবলি করিয়া অপমান আপনারে শুধু ঘেরিয়া ঘেরিয়া ঘুরি মরি পলে পলে আমার মাথা নত করে দাও হে তোমার চরণ ধুলার তলে সকল অহংকার হে আমার ডুবাও চোখের জলে আমার মাথা নত করে দাও হে তোমার চরণ ধুলার তলে আমারে না যেন করি প্রচার আমারও আপন কাজে
I'm reading from the book The Way to God as taught by Sri Ramakrishna by Swami Kripamayananda. The chapter is Holy Company and the Ideal of Renunciation. Real renunciation is the renunciation of desires. There are three basic desires: the desire for offspring, the desire for wealth, and the desire for name and fame. Monks of the Ramakrishna order renounce these three desires. Whatever other desires they have are centered in God. They are not selfish desires. When Swami Vivekananda established the Ramakrishna Math and Mission, he formulated its ideal with this Sanskrit words: Atmana mokshartham jagat hitaya cha. For one's own liberation and for the good of the whole world. He said to one of his disciples, "Look, if you want your own liberation, you will go to hell. And if you work for the good of others, you will have liberation in the palm of your hand. Holy men give their lives for the good of the world. But how do they see the world? They see that it is the temple of God. The beings in the world are not merely jivas, creatures. They are Shivas, God." The basic mantra of the Ramakrishna mission is, seeing a human being, know him to be God. Sri Ramakrishna first enunciated this ideal. Swamiji gave it its present form as a mantra for the mission. We see the image of God in the temple, but the universal form of that image, his more visible form, is living outside the temple. That image wanders around in various forms, with various names before our eyes. He is in the form of the poor, the sick, in those who long for him, and in many other forms. I don't know whether or not the image in the temple accepts my worship. On the other hand, I can see that the moving image in front of me is accepting my service and is very happy. So, I am happy. Swami Vivekananda said, "Leaving this living God, will you worship a stone image? Sitting on the bank of the Ganga, you want to dig a well." The Ramakrishna order monks carry out their activities keeping this in mind. All their work is for the sake of the omnipresent divinity, God in the form of man. They run hospitals and do relief work in places of famine or flood. They teach in schools and give lectures. They do everything knowing that in serving man, they are worshipping God. Work for them is not work, it is worship. Monks who work in the monastery business office have to keep account of every rupee. One of our monks once made a mistake in his bookkeeping and discovered he was several hundred rupees short. He was very disturbed and started to weep. Where could he get the money? He didn't even have a rupee of his own. At last, he had to beg from different people for the money to make up the deficiency. Later, the mistake was detected. One amount had been entered in the ledger twice. His devotion, his care, his intense concern over the faulty account had no personal basis. Everything was for Sri Ramakrishna. This great concern for the Master's work is also a form of austerity. Austerity is not only of the body, it is also of the mind. Whatever is done for the Lord is an austerity. In times past, Holy men and monks used to go to jungles and forests and mountain caves to practice austerities. But monks of the Ramakrishna order perform austerities while living in the midst of the society. They can go from office to office doing work for the order. Sometimes they even go to court. People at times criticize them for this. They say a monk's dharma is forgiveness. Should he bring a lawsuit against his opponents? But our feeling is that everything belongs to the master. No one should be allowed to take anything from him wrongfully. We must try to protect his property as far as possible. If after that our court case is lost, we understand that this was master's will. We don't suffer from that loss. I once went to a call on a friend from my pre-monastic days in his office. I was carrying a portfolio. So he said, "You are a holy man. Instead of an ascetic's begging bowl, why are you carrying a portfolio?" I answered him by saying, "If I had an ascetic's begging bowl, the doorkeeper would not let me enter your office. Besides, the portfolio is my begging bowl. The papers in it are not for myself, they are for the monastery. This portfolio is as pure and as sacred to me as an ascetic's begging bowl. To holy persons, all their work is holy, because it is all done for God. The bonds of a monk's work are cut through work itself." Sri Ramakrishna said that if a person can cry for God for 3 days, God will reveal himself to him. Swami Kripamayananda gave this teaching a new orientation when he said, if a person is able to serve others selflessly for 3 days, seeing God in him, he will become a siddha, a perfected soul. Here is it.
Now a short period of meditation. Good morning, friends. Today's topic is using head, heart and hand to attain God. As students of Vedanta, we all know attaining God, knowing God, realizing God, or realizing the self are different terminology for the same experience. So, how to find our cherished goal of spiritual endeavor? How to know ourselves? How to know our true self, which is none else than God? So there are various ways that people ask, if you want peace, where the peace is? Peace is within ourselves. If we can find ourselves, we immediately find peace. Whether we want happiness, always that happiness that never changes, which is always same in all sorts of situations and circumstances. How to gain that? When we find our true self, we get that happiness. The same, we get the happiness. How to be immortal? How to become fearless? No fear of anything, no fear of death, no worries, anxieties, fear, all peace. How to find that freedom from fear? Where that we can get? When we find our true self, we find that fearlessness. The true self, finding our true self, is finding God. There is no difference between God and our Atman, or true self. It is one and the same. When we worship it outside, manifested outside in some being, in some incarnation, prophets, teachers, then we call it God or godly person. When we try to find that great capacity, that great being within ourselves, then we call this is my true self, my Atman. The goal is to reach that center of peace, happiness, and immortality. So to do that, there are many ways. The first they say is have the holy company and hear about something that there exists, that reality which even death cannot act upon. It is beyond the power of death to act. That reality is there and that is yourself. Try to reach there and you are free from death. So holy persons will say that thing from their own experience, from their own thought. So they will say have the holy company. Read scriptures, Bible, Veda, Upanishads. All you will find, Gita, all Guru Nanak, your Adi Granth Sahib, your Quran, the Quran, you will find all the same thing. You will go towards God. So there are many ways where we are said how we can go to find God, how to find God, where to find God. That is the question. Because if we find God, then all our problems, existential problems of this life are gone, all are dissolved. So, but that's all true. What faculties we have? We can think and we can will, and we have emotions. We have emotions. And also we have power to act. Can we utilize all these faculties that we have as a human being to realize God? Can even action, the word, can be done to realize God? Can our thoughts be focused to realize God? Can our willpower, by willpower can we find God? The Vedanta says, yes, we human beings are what our character is. And our characters are made by our thoughts. Our thoughts, Swami Kripamayananda says, make our character and make our personality. So we have to take care of our thoughts. Thoughts are manifested through our nerve cells in the brain, that is the head. There are about 100 billion nerve cells in the brain and trillions of connections between them that all make what type of thoughts we will have. Such a complex thing, huge thing in our head and in all over our body, this nervous system. How many thoughts we have? We have to say 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts every day we think. Enormous amount of thought. But surprisingly, all these thoughts are not new. What we think today and tomorrow also we tend to think the same thoughts, not the new thoughts. We tend to repeat the thoughts. The Vedanta says you don't repeat the thought that we have today, but you repeat the thought that you have in your previous lives, previous incarnations. They come as a samskara that they thought, those thoughts, when they find favorable circumstances, those thoughts again come to your mind. Thoughts are the most powerful thing. Thoughts act upon our brain, and that brain acts upon our muscles, and then we start working according to our thought. So we have to be careful about what we think, because thoughts will ultimately be translated into action. If we have improper, incorrect, evil thoughts, they may goad us, they may guide us, they will impel us to do bad things. So thoughts have to be cared. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, thoughts are like mustard seeds. If you have kept and controlled at one place, this is okay. But if you let loose and scatter, then it is as difficult to gather them again. It will be scattered all over, small, round, circular seeds that just run away. So thoughts should be taken care of. Although we have so many types of thoughts come, so many thoughts come every day, thousands every hour. But surprisingly, many thoughts are very negative thoughts we have. I cannot do, it can be attained, it's all guilt feeling. They say about 80, surprisingly, research has been done in Harvard University, they say about 80% of our thoughts are negative about ourselves and about others. Something seeing negative point, bad point, wrong thing in ourselves and in others. So these thoughts have to be cleared, made right. So if we are prone to think negatively about ourselves, then all worries, fear, anxieties, tension, all that we suffer in this world, that will happen. Where is that peace that we are seeking? Where is that permanent happiness that we are seeking? Where is that fearlessness that we want so much in our life? All will go, life will pass day by day, we'll grow old, and ultimately when we are at the deathbed, we'll be the same person that we are in youth. Same desires, fear, anxiety, this attachment for this life, but life has to go. Fear of death, that will be there at the last moment. Life will be spent in vain, though we have succeeded a lot, perhaps you have got Nobel Prize, and you have attained great position in your social life, and great wealth, all have. But life, quality of life, is determined by how rich we became, or how much you earn name and fame. Quality of life will be determined by what we are when we are alone, when we are sick, when we are at deathbed, when we are dealing with others in our healthy time. That is how our quality of life will be determined. And quality of life will be better if we can be spiritual, if we can guide our thought process and our actions towards what we call finding God. That is the term given to make our lives the best utilization of the life, that is blessed life. So, why should we control mind and what are its benefits? Holy Mother Sarada Devi said, this mind binds and this mind also liberates. It's from the Upanishads. Swami Vivekananda said, we are what our thoughts have made us. So take care of about what you think. Words are secondary. Thoughts leave. They travel far. The powers of the mind are like the rays of the sun. When they are concentrated, they illumine. They take us away from darkness, and they give us light in life. We see the truth, we see the correct things, we see the joy of life will be there. Our life becomes truly human to the extent this higher mind is awake in us, and that involves struggle with the lower mind, which habitually takes us for a ride. The lower mind does not like discipline and resists it. It is this struggle with the lower mind that makes human life meaningful. Man is man so long as he struggles against nature. The average human life is lived upon, prompted by circumstances or by the behavior of others. Most people react to events rather than act in accordance with an ideal they have set for themselves. They are good to others because others are good to them, and bad because others are bad. That certainly is not a life of freedom, but a captive life without a direction or purpose. The highest ideal, according to Vedanta, is God realization. Now let us see how we can use head, heart, and hand for realization of God. Now heart, now hand, first let us come for use of head. To use head in the proper way to find God, we need to have a disciplined life. Disciplined life of disciplined thoughts. What are those disciplines that we need to use our head? It is called Jnana Yoga, where we want knowledge to lead us towards the goal, towards God. So first discipline of using head for God realization is ability to discern, to differentiate from God, differentiate real from the unreal, good from bad, permanent from transitory. So that discernment is necessary to use head for realizing God. So this discernment is not just suppression of desires, but it is a realization of the futility of worldly desires. When we know that worldly desires are futile, temporary, they really don't give what we really want. This very temporary thing they give, and they don't give us permanent satisfaction. Then we are not attracted to the worldly thing. We find something permanent, something abiding, something that exists, that will remain with us forever. This is the power of discernment. It's called viveka in Sanskrit. Viveka. You always try to find, this is another thing that really I need. So you are not attracted to this temporary things, temporary glory of your name and fame, temporary thing that may give you a little satisfaction but very short-lived satisfaction, and that will make us go towards the permanent, the higher, the real thing. So this one always trying to make distinction between what is we should go for, what we can discard, or what we can just neglect, that one ability to discern. The second thing that we need in the using head for God realization is burning renunciation of unreal to get the real. Renunciation often seems to be very a hard thing, give up everything. No, it's not giving up everything. Renunciation is what we do every day. We don't eat sugary food, fatty, that is renouncing them, because those are not good. We eat more fibers, more protein, healthy food, that is discernment, that is renunciation. The renunciation we use in everything that while we eat, that should be done. What we see, what we watch, what we talk, we can do renunciation. No, I should not talk, speak these things, these are the good words, every time. And this renunciation of what is not sumptuous, not good, not healthy for our speech or for our sight or for our thought or for our food has to be done with alertness. When you say renunciation, alertness comes at that time. This viveka requires alertness of discerning. Always, every moment we are alert. And then we practice that renunciation. Renunciation is not only for the monks, but for everyone. We renounce what is improper, unhealthy, that leads us to not permanent good. It doesn't give us what we seek, that peace of God. So that is called renunciation. burning renunciation. Give up all desires for the limelight of the world. I want to be famous. That is nothing. That doesn't give you peace and happiness that you seek. Famous for one day, news in television and newspapers, but people forget after that. After 10 years you remember who was the first Nobel Prize winner, you don't remember. You see, like that it happens. Or who won Nobel Prize in 1980 in physics, who remembers? So like that is all forgotten. Even the person who had got Nobel Prize, he is also not very happy that time, but excited. So giving up all that, if it comes, it's okay, it's fine. You don't have to say, no, I will not take a Nobel Prize if I got it. You can say, yes, I will take. But don't be glorifying yourself with that. Always know it is very secondary and not important from the point of view of what I am seeking. I am seeking permanent happiness, permanent peace. I am seeking God. Winning Nobel Prize or winning a lottery, becoming rich, or being a celebrity will not help me in realization of God, in reaching God, in attaining God, in knowing my true self. This is just happens in the world. My goal should be that spiritual reality, that Atman. I want to seek that. So it becomes secondary. When earning Nobel Prize or getting your name and fame becomes secondary, it's not permanent, then it is renunciation. Renunciation can lead us to that. It is for very strong persons who are focused and have traveled something, have found something to hold on, the real stuff. They can renounce the unreal. If we have not found the steadfast, the hold fast, where to hold, then there is chance we divert from our goal. So renunciation will make us do that. Then what is needed is mastery over our 6 spiritual virtues, they say. That is also very important. Discipline in life. Without discipline, you cannot focus your mind there. What are the discipline in life? We should have faith. Faith in whom? Faith in ourselves. I can find that stage called God realization. I can strive for that highest state when I can transcend my worldly desires and strive to attain that immortal peace. So that faith in oneself and faith in the teachers, in the master, that they have attained. Sri Ramakrishna says, God is real. As stars are real at daytime, though we do not see, though we may not see God, God is real, it is experienceable, it is attainable, it is talkable, you can talk with God, you can see God. When Sri Ramakrishna says that, we must have faith in his words. Faith doesn't finish our search for God. Faith is just a beginning of trying to strive to attain God. Sri Ramakrishna has seen God, he has spoken with God, he used to live always a happy life. That is very little for me to do. Only that can inspire me to attain that. That when Sri Ramakrishna has found, when Jesus has found, when Kamalakanta has found, when Tulsidas has seen God, then I also can see God. Because the teachers themselves say that I am not a Buddha. Buddha is not a position or something very extraordinary. Buddha is just awakened. I have become Buddha. You also can become Buddha. That faith in the teacher's saying, faith in the scriptures. All the scriptures say, go beyond the relative existence in your thought and try to reach your true nature, where you find fulfillment of all your desires. Then no desire will be left in you. All your desires of whatever you want to become, whatever you want to attain, whatever you want to collect, all those desires will be fulfilled. No more desires will be lived, will be there. Reach that stage, it is possible, the scriptures say that. So when scriptures say this, then it is possible. And I as a human being have that ability, I can strive for that. That is called having faith in oneself, faith in the scriptures, and faith in the teacher. So this faith is also very important. One of the 6 virtues, Samadhi, Shatka, Sampatti. Another is control of mind. Mind mind that, as Sri Ramakrishna said, we have to be always trying to control the mind. It should think the right thing. It should not deviate to something wrong. So it should be alert. And when this mind is alert, it can be always controlled. When mind start losing its alertness, then as Shankaracharya said, if you let mind go according to your own this thing and you have no observation and you are not alert, mind can go very low. And first step, you have not seen that where mind has gone to undesired thoughts, has come to mind. And you didn't take care and brought it back, then what will happen? It will be like the dropping of ball from the staircase. In the first step, if you don't hold on, it goes to the next step and goes very fast down. So mind needs to be always controlled and alert. And the third of the 6 spiritual virtues is control of sense organs. What should we see? What should we eat? What should we hear? Always it has to be taken care of. Discipline means we have to work on it. Without working, how we are going to reach that goal, which scriptures say it is the one goal of our so many lives. So that goal is control of sense organs. No, you cannot see that. That is not a thing that will make your mind holy and pure. That will disturb your mind. That will scatter your mind. So you tell your eyes, don't look there. And I said, okay, I become slave. Because your mind is the master. It is now powerful. That powerful, strong mind, which can guide your sense organs to the right thing and take away from the wrong thing, is called pure mind. Pure mind is powerful mind, weak mind, impure mind. The weak mind, impure mind has no control over the senses. Senses want to hear something that is very non-spiritual, that is very worldly, and the mind has no control over that because it is impure itself. Isn't it strong to ask them, no, you should not say that. And it's not alert at all. So it is tamasic mind that doesn't have any control over the senses. So control over the senses is another discipline that we need to develop if we want to use our head for God realization. Cessation of worldly desires is called uparati. Worldly desires. How can we be free from worldly desires? By just observing them. They do not really give what we really seek. They are very, very temporary. We want a very nice cloth, designer cloth came, and you want to wear that. How nice it will do. You wear that and go on the streets, and you will find, if you observe, no one looks at you. Only one or two. You went all the way thinking so expensive thing you put on and went. Worldly desires are like that. No one looking at you, everyone busy with themselves. And how long you will have that joy? No, nothing. Very, very, very short time. One day or the second day. And your wardrobe not used at all. Like that is worldly desires. It is very temporary, giving very insignificant result. So there has to be a cessation of worldly desires by knowing that worldly desires are very futile. Even Sri Ramakrishna had some desires. And you know how he did? Whole life of Sri Ramakrishna, Shankaracharya, Jesus, all their life is made for us. How should we live? So one day Sri Ramakrishna said, I want to wear a costly shawl. So he asked one of his friend, Mathur Babu, who used to take care of him, can you make me an expensive shawl that I want to wear that? And Mathur Babu was very obedient and very loving to Sri Ramakrishna, and he was a very good person. He gave him one shawl embroidered with gold threads and all that, very expensive. He put on that, Sri Rama put on that for a few seconds, not even a minute. And he said, oh mine, this is called wearing expensive shawl. Next moment he opened it out, put it on the ground, trampled on it and said, oh, this is what is called wearing wealthy shawl. Finished, that desire gone. So that should be our way. Best is with our thought, we know, by seeing the examples of the great teachers, that this expensive thing don't matter anything. Expensive jewelry, diamond and ruby, doesn't have any significance. How many people wear ruby? Who takes care of what you wear in your finger? Nobody notices. It's only up to us. Sometimes we think, oh, people will be watching. Nobody watches. That's how we can be free from the desires for worldly things, cessation of worldly desires. Be simple life, thought mixed on, put on God, high higher values, higher thoughts, and always in peace. Otherwise, if you have ruby in you want to enjoy the wearing ruby, you see another person wearing still expensive, the precious stone. Then you feel jealous, how will I get that one was so beauty, mine was smaller, that one was bigger. No end for nothing. This desire comes and only comes to give us trouble. So, this worldly desire has to be stopped through discernment, discrimination. That is worthless. This, after all, it may be precious, but after all, finally the main thing is it is stone. Nothing more than a stone. You call precious because you take a lot of money to buy it, but it is as worthless as a stone. So that way we discern about the things. So that's another discipline of using head. Forbearance. Problem comes with physical trouble, forbearing and goes. Holy Mother said, don't be worried for your difficulties, physical or otherwise. All they pass through like the water going underneath the breeze. So all will one day go away. So forbearance is another thing that will not disturb our mind, that will make us possible to keep our mind under control. Forbearance is the great spiritual quality. No complaint, it will come and go. Shankara says, Sahanam sarva dukkhanam, all sufferings you forbear. Chinta vilaparahitam, without any complaint. That is called forbearance. Anything comes, you have no complaint. How are you? Oh, I have terrible headache. Not to even say that I forget that you had headache. That is called no chinta, no vilapa. Vilapa is just go on speaking. Chinta is worried, what will happen? And often we magnify our problems. You say, today headache and tomorrow it might be some tumor in the brain. Nothing has happened to tumor in the brain and whole night you couldn't see. That was Sunday, you couldn't meet the doctor. Sunday also went like that, tumor in the brain because headache was not there. Monday you have to go to meet with the doctor and Monday there is no headache, it is gone. All Sunday that you could have enjoyed, gone in the worry, perhaps you had tumor in your head because you had headache. Forbearance will say, what does it matter? Let it be, it will go away. Holy Mother said, that is called forbearance. Chinta vilaparahitam. That's called titiksha. Very beautiful word in Sanskrit called titiksha. Difficulties. They are, Holy Mother said, why do you curse problems, difficulties? They are the beauty of life. They are actually the grace of God. Why is difficulty the grace of God? Because when difficulties come, problems come in life, we go to God and we pray, Lord, see that I'm in this problem. Can I be helped to remove this? Connection starts with God. What that connects us with God is actually yoga. That is difficulty yoga, problem yoga. Problem can be yoga. That happened to Arjuna. Vishada, he was so morose, so sad, so deluded. That problem of sadness of he had to fight with his own kinship became a yoga. By that he got illumination from Sri Krishna. Vishada can be yoga. That's why suffering is the grace of God. Dukkame sumirana sab kare. Kabir Das, great saint, poet, said, everyone remembers God when they fall in the trap of suffering. So that connects. Suffering, before we are suffering, if it takes to God, that's still better. And concentration on the self, samadhana. Try to know who you are. You see, these are the 6 disciplines. Then the 4th one of the 4 disciplines of Jnana Yoga is intensive longing for liberation. So I want liberation from this body from this bondage of ignorance, the bondage of dependence on this body, bondage of this health and disease, bondage of being reactive to the impulses, the actions that come from the outside. Always I would react. Someone said something, I feel so bad. Why should I feel bad? I know that I should not feel bad. Still I feel bad because I am bound. I am slave to the surroundings and circumstances. I want to be free from those. I don't want to be slave of the surroundings and circumstances. That is called longing for liberation from all dependence and slavery to this world. With all these 4 disciplines, then we try to find out who am I with so many disciplines. And searching the soul, the questions always coming, who am I? With my real parent, with my real father, with my real mother. Where do I belong? Where is my home, real home? In Bengali there is a beautiful song, Mona Cholo Nija Niketane. Swami Vivekananda sang this song to Sri Ramakrishna on his first visit to Dakshineshwar. So, mind, let us go to real home. Where is my real home? Permanent home. Here I can see that I come here to, like on a visa for a few years in this world. And after that I have to return back. Where is real home? That permanent abode. So, like that is, the question comes and try to find, who am I really? And go on searching, and you deny the sheaths that are covering yourself. What are the sheaths? The outer sheath of body, it is not I. You deny. It is very gross, it is very material. I am not this. And deny the sheath of vital force, this lively forces. This is not also I. This is also I can see object that I cannot be. Then deny the mental sheath, which is emotional, full of desires and full of thoughts. I am not the thought. Thought is something that I see and watch and I control. Then the another inner sheath of intellect, judgmental, decisive, determinative, that faculty, that is also I am not. So what I am, the sheath of bliss, where there is the feeling of the self, where the bliss is experienced, the sheath of bliss, Anandamaya Kosha, that also I am not. These 5 sheaths, I am not. I am the innermost being, the source of peace, happiness, knowledge, awareness, consciousness, that I am. You reach there and you have found God. That is how head can be used to realize God. Only using head will not be possible, and is not prescribed. What is prescribed is use all. Use hand, heart. Use heart. How to use heart? Because we have feel emotions, feelings, we have love, we have so many emotions that in heart. Can we use those to realize God? Not only through intellect, trying to find the self, denying all our 5 seeds, denying this world, impermanent world, and try to find the self. Yes, that is also a very important way. And how is that done? That is done to use heart, your feeling of your love. Can you project that love? Guide that love towards some beautiful thing, some desirable thing, some object of love. Yes, we do that to our children, to our people whom we love, to the things that we love, to our pets we love. We have a connection to them with love. But all that is temporary. The real source of our love that should flow is God. Through our connection to God, we should be connected to everything in the world. When we can find that one being in all, in our pet dog, in our parents, in our children, in our friends, that one being called God, then our love for God increases and that becomes permanent. Even if something happens in our relationship, that peace doesn't go. So using our heart to flow towards God through our love. How do we do that? We pray to God, come and always pray to God, have some symbol of God in our place, some photograph, some mark, something, and make it a daily program, daily routine to go and sit near that and feel the presence of the divine, that peace, permanent peace, all merciful, all powerful, that God there in the photograph, and full of joy and full power to guide you and to grant you the knowledge of the self, that being as whom we call God. If God wills, we can have the Atma Jnana. We can be free from all this dependence. We can be really attain freedom. So to pray to that God, start loving that God with all our heart and all our soul and all our mind, as Jesus said. And that can be done. When we love God, we love everything. It's like pouring water. You want to make fresh, beautiful flowers and nice leaves and wonderful fruits in a tree. Then we don't put water on the leaves and fruit and the flowers. We put water on the roots. When you put water in God, everything will be all right. All our relationship with the world will be wonderful, full of love. So, loving God, worshipping God, whatever you call, that is using our heart to realize God. How to use hand? Hand means all our actions. They say one should do action and then reflection alternatively. Whole day you work, come evening and try to reflect, what did I do wrong? Who inspired me to work? Where did I get energy from? So, connection with God after work. Work and worship. It's meant to be there. Otherwise you go on working, worship part is left behind, work will bring all bondage, desire for name, something says someone, you feel very bad, and you cannot go on working like that. All negative feelings will come through the work. Work has this quality of making you bound, making you down. It will not always lead you good. One day it will take you on higher pedestal, next day will throw down. One day will be successful, another day will be failure in the work. Work is very binding. When we connect the work with reflection, with God, with inspiration, then the negative effect of work will go away. Then work and worship are very important. Work and worship. Every day connected to God and pray to God. May I work with full spirit. Though I was not successful yesterday, let me try again. Let me do good to the people who are not even good to me. Like that thought will make possible only through worship. And that has to evolve as work as worship. After that you started working, then you find that itself is worship. You go and in the school, in the class, and you find students there, and you try to think, oh, these students are all that God within the heart of everyone, within every student. And instead of thinking that they are ignorant, they are pupil, they are not very good behavior, you see God in different forms. Some are very nice, some are not that nice, but it's all play of God. Work as worship. You start teaching, it becomes worship. Like Swami Kripamayananda of Kankhal, Swami Vivekananda's disciple. He said that here in Kankhal, they had a hospital. He said, the hospital is the temple, and God are the patients. And if you want to offer food to God, give food to patients. And you want to do chanting of stotras and Vedic chanting, you go and talk to them nicely and give them encourageous words, sympathetic words, feel empathy for them. That is worship. Work as worship, that it becomes. And finally, when we mature still, every work itself becomes worship. You don't have to think. You don't have to bring in mind that whom I am talking is the different forms of God. Swami Vivekananda said that human being is the highest temple and God is most manifested in human being. We cannot think of God other than manifested as the human being. That's why incarnations of God are so important for us to realize the truth. Without having the incarnations of God, Rama, Krishna, Shiva, Jesus, Ramakrishna, we will find difficult to approach God. God is said of various things in the scriptures. He is so big, He lives above the clouds, and He is, in our scripture it says, Vishwarupa Darsana in the Gita, oh, like the fire, 3 eyes are like the sun and the moon, and fire blazing, like there's so many very ferocious descriptions of God. How will you love such God? To love God, you will have to find the human form where God is most manifested. So, finding human God in the human being is the most right approach to pray to God and work to God. And one poet used to say, don't think that you are working, say that I am worshipping God. And when you travel in this market, you feel that you are doing the parikrama, circumambulation of God. And when you eat something, don't say you are eating. Think that you are offering to God that resides in your heart. Like that, make everything that you do as worship. That is, work as worship, live as worship. Your very life becomes a worship of God. That is the goal of using our head, our hands to worship God. This all, you know that in temples we do parikrama, pradakshina, that circumambulation. God is there and you go around that. You go to Kailash, that mountain in Tibet, what do you do? How do you worship Shiva there? Just you circumambulate. Whole mountain is circumambulated in 3 days of walking. What does that signify? That is the worship there. You don't have flower to offer, you don't have light to show, nothing there. Worship completely changes in doing circumambulation of that huge mountain. Circumambulation is very symbolic. It is to say, make God center of your life. In everything that you do, in everything that you think, in everything that you feel, make God the center of your life. And by using God, your all faculties focused towards God, your action focused towards God, we will find God. Swami Vivekananda said that the goal is to manifest divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. How to control that nature? Do it either by work or worship or philosophy or psychic control. They are the 4 yoga that I spoke about. Work, worship, philosophy or psychic control. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga and psychic control is Radha yoga. By one or more or all of these and be free. That is the goal. One or more or all these. At another place he said, in the Ramakrishna mission, to the brother monks and brahmacharis said, in Ramakrishna mission, you are supposed to practice all 4 yogas. Those who leave any yoga aside, they have not been trained in the ideal of Sri Ramakrishna. All 4 faculties, all 4 yogas have to be practiced by each member of the order. That was his saying. By that our progress will be faster because we live in these 4 faculties of life. And from complete verse I see it, read at the end. What we want is to see the man who is harmoniously developed, great in heart, great in mind, great in deed. We want the man whose heart feels intensely the miseries and sorrows of the world. And we want the man who not only can feel, but can find the meaning of things, who delves deeply into the heart of nature and understanding. We want the man who will not even stop there, but who wants to work out the feeling and meaning by actual deeds. Such a combination of head, heart and hand is what we want. There are many teachers in this world, but you will find that most of them are one-sided. One sees the glorious midday sun of intellect and sees nothing else. Another hears the beautiful music of love and can hear nothing else. Another is immersed in activity and has neither time to feel nor time to think. Why not have the giant who is equally active, equally knowing and equally loving? Is it possible? Certainly not. This is the man of the future, of whom there are only a few at present. The number of such will increase until the whole world is humanized. That was Swami Vivekananda saying, we also strive for having a balanced life of work and worship and meditation and philosophy, and then our life will be really successful and we will reach our goal by the grace of Almighty.